Girl Scouts is real important where I grew up. So I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania. I attended Catholic school, and Girl Scouts was very, very important in the school that I attended. And, you know, Girl Scouts, you didn't get involved in Girl Scouts until the second grade. And as a young girl, you admired all those girls because on Fridays they got to wear the Girl Scout uniforms to school. And so you all looked up to those girls that got to wear the Girl Scout uniforms on Fridays. And so when it was time in the second grade to join Girl Scouts, I joined Girl Scouts. And Mrs. Fisher became my troop leader and stayed in Girl Scouts all the way until the 11th grade and earned my first class at that time, which was the highest award to earn in Girl Scouts. And then Mrs. Fisher graduated us all and said, okay, you've all earned your highest award and enjoy your senior year and have fun.
And what drew you to Girl Scouts?
It was just, like I said, Girl Scouts was a real tradition in the schools, you know, where I grew up. There was every class had a large contingency of Girl Scouts, and like I said, every Friday, all the Girl Scouts, all the Boy Scouts wore their uniforms. I mean, you know, in Catholic school you wore a uniform every day, but on Fridays, the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and other clubs wore their uniform. And so the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, you know, of course, wore their uniforms every day. And so, you know, I guess part of the uniform, but then also seeing the impact that the Scouts had on our schools and the projects that they did, and just, you know, what the impacts and what they did to improve our schools and our communities really drew us to be part of the program.
And what does Girl Scouts mean to you?
To me personally,
Yes,
it was a huge impact on my life. You know, I struggled in school. I struggled real hard. And it wasn't until, as an adult, I never realized that I had dyslexia. And my troop leader, Mrs. Fisher, was instrumental in me saying, you know, Karen, I think, you know, it's really, you just see things differently. It's not that you're not smart. You just see things differently. You just, you know, you struggle with reading. And she said, you know, what we're going to do is we're going to help you how to learn to read. And I'm going to help you to learn to read. And she said, you know, and she made me this bookmark. And, you know, so I learned how to read one word at a time. And then we learned 2 words and 3 words. And she helped me really to overcome and to become a better reader. And in Girl Scouts, because, you know, as I was struggling in elementary school, it didn't matter that it wasn't the best student. We were all the same. You know, some of us were good students, some of us were good athletes, some of us were in the choir, some of us had different talents. But we all came together and we all shared our talents and we were all equal. And so that's what we learned, that we all were different, but we could all learn from each other, and that we could all improve and learn from each other. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Girl Scouts, so obviously I learned to read along the way, and I got to be a better student. By the time I was in high school, yes, by the time I was in high school, I was a very good student, and I thank my Girl Scout leader. If it wasn't for Mrs. Fisher, I'm not sure I would have been ever a very good student who invested a lot of time in me. Yeah, I'm going to tell you, my highest award project was kind of interesting. You know, earning the first class is not like what you all do for your Gold Award project now. You know, the Gold Award project that the girls are in now is far above what our projects were. But in my small town, we had volunteer fire departments. And so we had 4 little communities that came together. It was Browndale and Vanling and Forest City and Richmonddale. And we had volunteer fire departments. And nobody ever knew where the fire hydrants were. So I did a map. And I identified where all the fire hydrants were. And I marked them on a map of all the little communities. So,
That's
you know,
useful.
I identified where all the fire hydrants were.
That's very useful.
Well, in that time, yeah. And it, you know, like in today, it would be on a GPS or something, but I just, you know, had a big map and kind of kind of just drew the fire hydrants on them, gave each fire department a map where the fire hydrants were. My advice is enjoy your time as a Girl Scout. Um, take the opportunity to develop long-lasting friendships. Take the time to learn from your fellow Girl Scouts, and take the opportunity to try things you wouldn't, you know, take the opportunity to ride that zip line, to paddle that canoe, to shoot that arrow, to try all those things you wouldn't do. But more so, make lasting friendships. I will tell you, the 12 girls that were in my Girl Scout troop, even though for years and years we haven't been in touch, I will tell you we're friends on Facebook, and if I truly needed one, I could probably contact one. And to this day, they would probably be there for me.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add about Girl Scouts?
I just think it's the greatest organization in the world, but that's what I think.
What branch of service were you in?
Army.
What was your rank when you got out?
Major.
And where were you living at the time that you joined the Army?
Pittsburgh. That's what.
And why did you pick that branch?
Why?
Yes, sir.
Oh. I wanted to pay for graduate school. I was in graduate school, and I needed a way to continue to pay for graduate school, and so I was walking down the streets of Pittsburgh, and I saw a recruiting sign, and so I went to the recruiting station, and I joined the Pennsylvania Army Reserve. And so I started out in the reserve, and so I went off to basic training, off to Fort Dix, New Jersey, and my first few days, I just didn't realize there was that much sand in the state of New Jersey. I just really never knew there was that much sand in the state of New Jersey, and I didn't know it was that hot in the state of New Jersey, but it was an interesting experience. I thought I was in pretty good physical condition when I went. My Army recruiter told me, be prepared. You have to be able to do, 10 or 15 push-ups. You need to be able to do 20 or 35 sit-ups, and you'd be able to run a mile or so. Yeah, so I was in pretty good shape. I could do all that, I was pretty young. I was in my 20s at the time, so I was in good physical condition. But at 5:30 in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different doing that physical training at 5 o'clock in the morning on the sand beaches at Fort Dix, New Jersey. So yeah, it was a whole new experience. But I was in the best physical condition of my whole life by the end of that 6 weeks of basic training at Fort Dix. Yeah, you learn that. When I was in officer candidate school, you learn how to sleep standing up with your eyes open. Or somehow. I don't even do that. Yeah. So I spent about 5 years in the Army Reserve as an administrative clerk, and then I got then I got selected to go to officer candidate school. So I went to active duty officer candidate school as a reservist, and I had the opportunity then at that time, because I finished in the top 10% of my class, I was offered an active duty assignment. And after a lot of consideration, I said, I'll take an active duty assignment. I'll do this for 3 or 4 years. I'll take an active duty assignment. I'll see what it's like. I'll go to Europe. I'll enjoy some of those active duty kind of things, and then after that, I'll go back and work a real job or something. Well, 20 plus years later, that 3 or 4 year assignment, I still, because I said after I stopped having fun, I would go back to a real job. So, but 20 plus years later, I was still having fun, but then finally decided to retire. And so, the majority of my career after my commission, I spent in our recruiting command. Because I really, truly liked to be able to tell the Army story and be able to go and talk to parents and talk talk to young men and women and talk to them about the Army experience and what they could gain from the Army, and then be able to train Army recruiters and how that they could share their experiences with young men and women, and how, I can still remember today, what did we talk to young men and young women about? We talked to them about teams. We talked to them about training. We talked to them about education. We talked to them about adventure, money for college, and service to country. And that's why I spent the majority of the time that I was on active duty in Army recruiting, because I really, really thought, just like I feel about Girl Scouts, that service and military service, whatever branch, it plays an important role in young men and young women, to be able to give them stepping stones to their whole lives. That it may not be every young man and every young woman's life desire to spend their entire career in military service, but it can provide them those stepping stones and those short-term goals to reach their long-term goals. And that's where I spent the majority of my career in Army recruiting. I served in Kuwait. I served in Operation Desert Storm, Denver Shield. And I'm very fortunate that I was over there. I served in postal operations. So I helped, it was one of those things, what do you do to take care of servicemen? Mail is one of those real good important things that you take care of servicemen and women. You make sure they get the mail. And I worked in postal operations, and so I served over in Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield, in postal operations. There were very few casualties in Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield, which is very, because it was very short. I mean, there were some. And no, I was very fortunate not to see any directly. You got a hot meal a couple times a week, and had a lot of those meals ready to eat. But a lot of time, by that time, more like I call them like they're more like TV dinners that you get now. They come in those, packaged full units. They come in heat packed units, and they come like more like TV dinners now. But real hot food you get a couple times a week. But you learn to survive. I grew up when I first started in the Army. I came with sea rations and the little cans of sea rations, and I was a real fan of beanie weenies, and I used to trade anything for beanie weenies. Some people like beef stew, some people like other things, and you could trade them off. But they were heavy. You didn't like to carry a lot of those cans of stuff. MREs were much easier to carry. Sure, when we first went over, there were, supply chains were tough. It was tough to get supply chains in there. But I will tell you, people from home, packages from home. I will tell you, and I work postal operations. Packages from home. I will tell you, soldiers sent lots of requests home during Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Soldiers sent lots of requests home, and we got tons of packages that we processed from home. You'd be surprised of the packages, even from personal hygiene items to socks to underwear that soldiers and and Marines and servicemen and women couldn't get. We couldn't get to them, but their families got to them. Even to include Girl Scout cookies. Lots of Girl Scout cookies got to units out there, and to include a lot of melted thin mints. And I'll tell you, thin mint logs really are great when they're all melted like that. You go to the dining hall, and they're great over ice cream. You just break them all up and then put them over ice cream. I will tell you the one thing, when we were in officer candidate school, you go through phases in officer candidate school, and so you start out with a black helmet liner, and then that's the first 10 weeks you wear a black helmet liner, and then you turn blue, and then for the last 6 weeks you wear a blue helmet liner, and so inside the helmet liner what I always did. I had two things inside my helmet liner. One was my Girl Scout pin, and the second was my second lieutenant bar. And so when I could take that helmet liner off, I could look inside my helmet liner, and those were the two things. It was my Girl Scout pin, that I knew that everything that I learned in Girl Scouts was going to be there, that that everything, um, that, that Girl Scouts taught me, that if I could stay to that course, and, I would be good, and that my final goal was that second lieutenant bar, was inside there. So that was my final goal. So if I could take it off and look inside there and put it back on, I knew that was luck. And then the other thing is when I was commissioned as a second lieutenant, my dad gave to me his compass from World War II, and it's a brass compass, and so in World War II, officers carry a brass compass. And so my dad always said to me that excellence in leadership will always be guided by your moral compass. And so he said, I give to you now my compass, and this is the compass that has guided me for life. And so I still have that compass, even though in 2010 my house burned, and as I went through the ashes of my house, I found it's rusted now, and it's a little bit dustier and dirtier, but I found the compass. And that's still today what guides me and makes me who I am. I always am guided by moral compass. And I always say that leadership and excellence in leadership is always guided by moral compass. No matter what you do, you have to be guided by the moral compass. And if you do, and you're guided by what's right or wrong, you'll make the best decision you can with the information that you have. Not always saying it's going to be the right decision, but it's going to be the best information that you have. It's going to be the best decision you have. Best decision you can make with the information you have at the time. Maybe down the road, you may make could it be a better decision? This could be the best decision that you can make.
Did you ever pull any pranks on people?
Oh, pranks? Oh, yeah, I like to play pranks on people.
Could you tell me about some of them?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I probably can't even remember them. But yeah, yeah, I like to have fun. I like to have fun on people. Yeah, we like to have fun. But yeah, I probably can't even remember all the pranks I pulled on people. Isn't like today, April Fool's Day? I haven't even pulled one today. Wow.
Is today?
Yeah, today's April Fool's Day.
It is.
Haven't even thought of one today.
Oh, I have to think of one to pull on Miss Donna.
There you go.
She's the one who scheduled something on April Fool's Day surrounded by a bunch of teenagers. Did you ever keep a personal journal or diary?
I never have. There's probably things I should have. And I hope I have a good enough memory that I remember things, and that I can keep keep good memories in my head and my heart. And but there's probably things I probably along the way should have written down. And maybe someday before I get real old and senile, I probably should write down things.
Could you tell me about the day that your service ended and what you did in the days and weeks afterward?
It's like everything else. You decide in your life. When I decided to retire active duty service, it's like everything else. When I decide something, it's time to move on to something else. I decided to retire, and I decided to retire active duty. And I retired August 1st in 2000, I believe. Yeah. Active duty. And then I immediately started to look for a job. I was in Huntsville. I retired in Huntsville. I was in Redstone Arsenal. I didn't know, I didn't have a job. A lot of people, have a job when they retire. So, I just, cleaned up things around my house and decluttered some of the things around my house, but then I immediately started to look for a job. But I didn't have a job when I retired. I said I would find something. And I've had several. I had several job offers and several position offers in a short period of time. But then I was reading the Sunday newspaper one day, and Girl Scouts of North Alabama was looking for a membership manager. And I said, I really enjoyed Girl Scouts, and I'm retired. I really think that I can give my time and talent and skills to a nonprofit organization, and that's what I did. I called Carol Kelly, who was the CEO, and she called me in there and she said, Karen, you are so overqualified for this position. Why would you even consider this position? And I said, because it's time for me to give back. Time for me to share. Time to give back with my talents. And so I grew from there.
How did your military experiences influence your thinking about the military and war in general?
I grew up in a military family. So, so it was like our family business. Even though my dad was retired military, my dad's a graduate of the Citadel. Both of my siblings were in the military, which we were not. My father did not encourage us to make that decision. It was our own decision, but it was our family business. Some people go into, whether their family business might be retail or, some other industry. We felt our family business was service to country. We felt to find a strong moral obligation. I come from a family of immigrants. My grandparents on both sides. Both my grandparents immigrated to the United States for a better way of life. I was raised from a small child that you give back. And nobody ever gives you anything. What you earn from a hard day's work for a hard day's dollar. But what you do is a sense of community and you give back. And military service was the way in my family, and from both my father and all his fathers. My grandmother had 6 sons that were serving in World War II at the same time, and she lost one son. And she had a strong sense of love of country. The best day of her life, she will tell you, was the day she became a naturalized citizen of the United States. And so military service for us was just important to us, and still important. And again, I believe it's a great opportunity for any young man or any young woman that needs time to think about where they are, and they don't have, where their career is going. It's a great stepping stone. I'm not sure where I want to be in 3 or 5 or 10 years. I don't know. Military service might help you find that right decision. Give you some opportunity. Earn some money for college. Gives you some skills. Have you some time to make some decisions where you're going to be.
What advice do you have for future generations?
Follow your dream. Don't be afraid to dream. Don't be afraid to fail. Make mistakes. And surround yourself with good friends. Trust your parents. Because they're your best guiding light. It's the best advice I can give you. Just enjoy. Have fun at life.